Well, hello there, Uber-Tuber-Ubers and Uber-Tuberettes, one and all. How you guys today? It's a Tuesday afternoon, I believe. Short talk in the park. Now, here's the proof, see? Short talk in the park with the old guy. That'd be me. I'm just got work here. It's early for me. It was about 3:30 when we got to the shop, which is, I was just watching this little kiddo over here with his, I guess that's his dad. Dad brought him out to play on the stuff here, and I was just seeing what he was up to. Yeah, it looks like about an 8 or 9 year old. I don't know. It's a beautiful day out here, and we're here at I think it's Fringer Park. I wanted to show you something here. Right here is a box. In the box, I'm sure I'm not doing that right, are cans, and those cans, as it might be, read like that. On the other side, someone wrote in a marker, free food. I don't know if you got that one or not. Anyway, cans of potatoes. There's about 6 of them sitting here on the table, middle of the park. I guess maybe for homeless folks coming by. I don't know. That's probably, somebody had a good idea and decided to carry through with it. Why not? It's been a Tuesday all day, as far as I know. For some reason, I was halfway convinced it was a Wednesday, but that's just because, well, some people aren't paying attention now, are we? And I just was watching a few vids and kind of comment on this and that and the other thing. Have you seen the latest and greatest on the liberal agenda? The unbelievable. The U.S. Supreme Court unanimously said, and now that's something for the lefties to get on board, that DJT has the legal right to petition his name in any state. No state in the union has the right to ban a candidate summarily based upon the fact that they don't like the guy's hair. And they think he talks mean. And whatever else they got against the guy. And they got a hate affair with Trump, that's for sure. And so the Supremes have come out and said, well, yeah, he can run. And so now some of the more, shall we say, liberal among us are talking about wanting to, well, we should disband the court. Disband the court. That's a brilliant idea. Because as long as we're destroying the Constitution in the process anyway, right? Have you seen what Liz Cheney, she's a piece of work, ain't she? Anyway, Liz is out there claiming up and down, forward and back, oh, if Donald Trump comes into office, oh, it'll be the worst thing. It'll be the destruction of the Constitution. Now, all of a sudden, she's Little Miss Defender of the Constitution. Is that correct? But she has zero, squat, nothing, the goose egg, to say about the current administration and their ongoing thrashing, destroying of that very same document, which she holds so very near and dear her heart, apparently. And it's just like, what? So this is kind of what we're looking at, this crazy muddle out here. The idea that kind of came to me this morning, I just kind of wanted to talk about it some, and it really doesn't have exactly anything to do with politics, but it kind of does. And it, you might think of it as a theological, kind of a religious spin if you want to. But I was thinking about this, that, really what's going on with this, as an example, this treaty that's coming up in May. I was watching a video posted the other day, said 47 nations in Africa vote against the treaty. The treaty is over. But when you watch their own video, their own presentation, there was no vote. African nations never sat down and took a vote. It was a parallel organization called the WHA or something. It's an advisory committee, and the Africans, rightly so, were saying, hey, we have some serious concerns here. But there was no vote. So that thing is still going through, because you know what the powers that be want it to be. And once that thing goes through, well, everything changes. And I don't know how fast. But when you look at what's going on around you, there's all this kind of talk that, well, there's people waking up all around the world. There's a worldwide phenomenon going on right now where people are becoming aware, and they're taking, what is it, the red pill or the blue pill? I can't remember which color they're supposed to take. I really resent and I refuse to use the red-blue thing, because all of my life growing up, red was the color that was equated with communism. Look at their flag. And so when I was a kid in the 60s, if someone was known to be somewhat, shall we say, leaning toward liberalism a little too hard, like, an out-and-out Marxist, they were called a pinko. Why? Pink because it was a little bit of red. It wasn't full tilt red, but it was reddish, right? And so red was left and blue was right if you want to have color coding. But anyway, whatever color the pill is, probably red. So there's people talking about, well, there's people taking the red pill all over the world and, coming and realizing that the media is lying to us and or whatever. And that big tech is censoring us and, everything else. And that they're poisoning us with various means. And, all this stuff. And it all sounds like conspiracy stuff. Sounds like put on your tinfoil hat, sorry. And it's like, well, if you look at something real, I mean, and a treaty that's going to be passed, I'm aware of it, you're aware of it, a whole lot of people are aware of it, and the Whiffies are so scared by it, and the Hooers are, that they're having to come out and actually lie about it in public, saying that, oh, well, this doesn't mean anything in the future for national sovereignties. No, don't be misunderstood here. And no, don't let me be misunderstood or whatever. So the powers that bent law and order and truth, they bent it into a hellish framework, they're continuing their work. So you can be as aware as you want. You can write a petition if you care to. You can call your congressman if you want. But what I'm saying is that until people stand up and in some sort of act of power, throw this back, force it back, drive it right back down their throats, and take them out of office and remove them from the loop from ever having anything to do with public discourse again. See, no one's doing anything. So everyone's talking about something, and this may be a big change. So there's these bright lights that appear briefly, like, well, the Africans, they're against the treaty, yay, but that wasn't a vote. And there's talk about that, maybe various aspects of things that we've thought were just completely, cattywampus and crazy and just out of whack aren't nearly quite as bad as all that. Well, maybe that's true. But who's doing anything to reverse these unholy trends? And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is that the equation is power politics. And the left doesn't actually care what you think of them. It doesn't matter whether you like them or love them. What matters is that they get their policy, as they call it, which is a hijacking of authority, and it goes directly, strangely enough, to them. The idea is to grab the power. And that's really what that whole episode was about, starting about 4 years ago, wasn't it? Did you notice the tremendous change in power? Did the people get more powerful? Did local governments like cities and townships, did they get more powerful? No. Federal government, state government, federal agencies, all of these blew up and became just monstrosities, and they're still that way. And they're completely ineffective. And not only that, we have this issue where federal agencies are now supposedly the watchdogs, of certain cartels. Let's call it oil, or let's call it the defense industry, or let's call it big pharma, or let's call it, the food. I mean, just the huge business of selling food, whatever it is. These huge agribusiness or cartels, they actually buy the regulatory agency. They're funding the regulatory agency, and the same is true of the WHO. Only 40% of the WHO's budget actually comes from national so-called donations. The rest of it, 60%, is by NGOs or individuals with, say, a couple of billion laying around doing nothing. And so they've been bought, WHO has. And so what works out is that the regulatory agency that's supposed to be calling the shots as the official government agency is actually on the payroll of the people they're supposedly regulating. And so, shall we say, there's a little bit of conflict of interest here. So power is the issue. But what's missing in the Christian life, I think, at least in my life, if you're anything like me, I mean, we've got the doctrinal answers, don't we? We can say the right words, we can sing beautiful songs, but really when it comes right down to it, in terms of power, we are doing almost nothing at all to roll back the darkness. And darkness only understands one thing: power, force. And the force of God is greater than that of the enemy. So there is an aspect where Paul talks about I don't really not interested in what someone has to say if it's all about only words. If you want to get into a word fight, that's interesting. But he's talking about power, and that means walking in the power of the Holy Ghost. And so Paul was doing some pretty amazing things in his day. So the Christian church, maybe she should be doing stuff more like that, here and there. But the point being, and I think there's a point here, when we look at the world around us, whether it's the Wiffites or the Democrats in the United States losing their minds again, or whatever it is, the CCP and all their zany exploits, we at least I get into a situation when, this is crazy, man. This can't be happening. Somebody should do something. Really, someone should do something. Well, who is that? Who is that someone? I don't know, because I haven't met the guy yet, and everybody's hanging their hopes on who? You guess him. Yeah, DJT. Everybody thinks he's the man who make America come back and happily ever afters and all those good stuff things at the end. We'll see. But the point is that what's missing, what's actively and aggressively missing, is the word godly or holy. In other words, the entire Western world has gone nuts, and the thing that all of these crazy people have in common is that they all agree that the God of the Bible, if he exists, if he cannot possibly have anything to do with our lives. He's an utter irrelevancy at the very best, and frankly, a lie, according to many of these people, that the whole thing was made up. That's a heck of a making up story there, pal. And to be able to pull off, let's say you have a corrupted text like that, where we're just going to make up some stuff. How do you guarantee the continuity of that text and the integrity of that text across 40 centuries and more? Where's that coming from, Bubba? Show me any other book that was just hatched together, just nonsense and BS written by men, that has survived for over 40 centuries. In fact, one of the biggest published books ever of all time, plain and simple. How did that happen, if it's just all made up? Show me one more example of that, please. But in other words, the world is running around with its head cut off, screaming, the sky's falling, and maybe it is and maybe it ain't. But the thing that's missing is that the God who held up the skies all these years, and he seems to be doing fine today if you'll look around, have we forgotten about him? Are we pretending he doesn't exist? Do we basically just hate his guts and wish he'd go away? There could be a variety of things. But the thing I wanted to mention today is that it just never really occurred to me until this morning that there is a link between the idea, in terms of our sanctification as believers. We talk about justification. By virtue of that, you are once and for all declared justified before the living God. And this is an act of grace upon hearing the gospel and responding in faith, repenting of a past life and turning to a new life in him, a supernatural life. This isn't some head trip about you just develop a good attitude or something like that. No, there's a supernatural transaction that occurs. People are changed from the inside out, and it's happening more and more, and it's happening around the world. The kingdom of heaven shall expand, and he shall not lose one of his own. Amen. But the thing that's missing in our lives, I think, is that we might object to the idea of godly not ever even coming up, and I sure do. But where's the power? In other words, who's going to actually do anything? Who's going to actually take this absurd platform of tyrannical garbage and just tear it up, burn it, and jail the idiots who tried to make it go through? That ain't going to happen now, is it? Not realistically. Not in our time. So that means we got to get good at survival. Might want to think about survival hacks. Might want to think about get some clean water stored up, maybe get some greenbacks, some dollars set aside, or gold coins or something. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to be a doomsdayer and predict all kinds of bad stuff. I'm just telling you that the way things are going and the way things seem to be shaping up is that we've got this, and now it's a sort of a bureaucratic monstrosity that grows. It's sort of like the way a cancer will enter the human body. The cancer wants to grow. It's a living thing. It wants to grow and grow and grow. And it will grow. at the expense of the body which it is hosted in, and such to the point that the body dies. Then the cancer dies. But the cancer never says to itself, well, I got a pretty good gig here. If I'll just, roll back this expansion theme and just kind of hang around here in the background, I could live for years and years in this body right here. The cancer doesn't do that. The cancer always wants to grow. It grows because it grows. And that's the way that government is. And the bureaucratic control thereof. It only gets larger. It only becomes more tenacious. It only becomes more deeply rooted over time. It never just kind of lifts off and says, oh, I guess we didn't need all those bureaucratic crazy rules that are costing trillions of dollars. Well, who knew? We can just scrap all that and move on. No, that doesn't work. People don't think that way, and it's not even real. So I was thinking in terms of power, the power that we need, the power that I need. Wouldn't it be nice if I had some power of, self-control? Wouldn't it be nice if I had some power such that I could look at a job and say, I'm going to submit the entire package, however crazy it is or isn't, to the Father right now in prayer, and seek wisdom instead of trying to figure it out on my own first and then blowing up and everything. See, we all need to make progress, that's for sure. But the power that's missing in our lives as Christians, I think, is the power of order. It's the power of sanity. It's the power of being at peace and being able to sleep at night without tossing and turning and fidgeting. It's the power to arrive confident to meet each new day, aware that I really don't have what's in me to deal with this and really do it right. But there's another, and he's come alongside, and he's permanent, and he's with us. And so we're going to seek his power by calling to him by name. The I am who is saving you. That's his name. Jesus means I am. That's Yahshua, salvation, or I am saving. So when you see those big signs at a rescue mission that says, in flashing neon letters, Jesus saves, baby, they ain't kidding. That's what his name even means. And he's being saved from what? Unto what? We're saved from God's fury, God's justice. The church used to know this. It's in her textbook. It's in the Bible. That's what we're being saved from. So you got to think about it. Do you really want to go into a showdown between yourself and the Almighty as if you were some sort of super warrior? You're going to take this guy on? Don't go there. Just don't do it. I fear God, and I tell you, the path of the fear of the Lord is the right path. It's the path he calls us to, and it breeds sanity in you. It makes you understand what's real. It makes you understand that people can make up any kind of nonsense they want inside their own noggins, but it ain't real. And none of that stuff breathes or moves or has anything to do. I was watching this weirdo video today. The guy I work with, he looks at a lot of these TikTok videos. I'm not on TikTok. But it was some young guy who was dressed up and seemed to identify as a cat. And he was going to meow his way into the U.S. Military, maybe the Army, I don't know. And it was completely frivolous and nonsense. And I was kind of offended that it's kind of like, you're a little cutesy pie meow crap. Do you realize what the Marines went through in Iwo Jima in 1940, was it 3 or 4? I mean, what the Allies went up against to roll onto the beaches. They were walking into machine gun fire and worse. Why? Because they believed in something and they had courage and they made their vows and they carried it out to the death. There's some power for you. And little meow man, I don't think he's cut out for that. I don't think he's quite got there, and I don't want to publicize this goon. He might be pushing 18 or 19 years old. He ain't got any sense. He needs to go out and work for 25 years and, digging ditches in the sunshine. He might figure a few things out after that. But I'm guessing the wind's going to get a little scuffly, so it's been good visiting with you. I wanted to drop by, spend some time in a real park, because after all, with the name and stuff, short title, we want to stay true to the original dream. And of being in a park occasionally. Big deal, who cares? But it is better to have that nice backdrop of the sky behind me as an example. And it kind of gives you something different to look at other than that gnarly old blanket. Well, it's good talking with you, and I hope the old you know who censor guys don't bag me on certain, shall we say, medical information, because everything in this is opinion. Pure opinion. And even if it was misinformed, there's a very different thing between being misinformed, that is, frankly, I don't understand the reality of the situation very well, and being disinformed. That means portraying what I know to be a lie. That's what they're accusing you of. When they say misinformation, that's what they're accusing you of disinformation. It's a moron robot. Don't expect it to understand anything in English. Do your best, work hard, and don't take no for an answer. The gospel's for you. How can you tell? Because you don't qualify. Jesus came to save sinners, not the righteous. Well, in that case, I qualify. I got that sin thing nailed right in the old butt. I'm practically an expert at it, which is nothing to brag about. You guys have a good day. And get yourself some idea like that. Maybe you could do a little box somewhere, set it out in the park for homeless folks. I'm not telling you what to do, but I never would have thought of that until I got over here. Bye-bye.